It's all fun and games till someone gets shot.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about the update once more and kind of give you guys another update on things that's happening. Tekken 8 patch nerfs heat system in bold balance move. Bandai Namco released Tekken 8 emergency patch. It's not an emergency patch, but that's what they're calling it. Early Tuesday, slashing heat system rewards with triple meter costs. This is showcasing, so that doesn't launch anymore. That doesn't launch anymore, right? So you could just see a couple of the moves that used to launch, but now they don't. These significant changes hit every character. You may feel like, oh, my character got cooked, but it's not just your character, you know. It's great changes all around. So many moves don't launch anymore. They only launch on counter hit. So many heat engagement moves only give a follow-up. Oh, something that I thought was interesting to show you guys. So Edge put out this tweet here where he said Harong is dead. He's thinking about playing different characters. He no longer sees the future for this character. He tried to salvage the character in previous updates, but it didn't work out. Like, he just put out this long statement, and people were coming down hard on him. I mean, Harong is a hated character, bro. Like, this is the thing. Do people like lack self-awareness? You play Harong and you're not aware that Harong is one of the most hated characters in the game because of how strong he is. So it's like, when he was saying this about Harong, a lot of people took issue with it. There was like content like Nova. Listen to Nova. You are a beacon for Harong players worldwide. The situation calls for you to act more like it. Keep Harong alive yourself. Let's take the individual L's with dignity. The patch was extremely healthy for the game, and we can only pray they keep pushing in this direction. More nerfs. There's a lot of people going hard. Blackheart, if you're serious, you're a clown. Top players need to stop doing this. Sending mixed signals to the devs, make them question decisions long term. The changes made to the game reduce power levels for the entire cast across the board. Even Shinblade says, what is wrong with Edge? So basically he got backlash from everyone, and as a result he later put out this apology. I apologize to everyone for my thoughtless remarks. I was under a lot of stress while playing season 3, and I posted too hastily and emotionally. I apologize for focusing only on character nerfs without looking at the game as a whole. I will work harder to become a better gamer. It's always sad when people have to apologize and whatnot. I don't think he should have apologized. He could have just let it rock, you know. I know, like in Korean culture, Japanese culture, they kind of do things differently. But yeah, he apologized for what he said and how upset it made a lot of people. I do think it's important that we not do that, though. It will send mixed messages. The Great Knee. First one says, today's patch comes with some major changes. Personally, I think if this patch has been released at the start of season 3, a lot of people would have accepted it as a genuine back to basics. Some people are saying Bryan made it through the patch untouched, but I don't see it that way. Bryan was already nerfed the moment season 3 began in events. In the same way, we're now seeing like 600 reduction on heat meter. That's why the patch doesn't really have much substance for him. So the patch didn't address a problem that Bryan Fury has. I mean, that makes sense. Bryan Fury isn't abusing these crazy heat moves. That's what this update was about. Whenever we get the patch that, you know, address moves that are similar to QCP1 and stuff like that, we'll see what they do there, right? There will probably be pro players claiming Bryan is the strongest after this patch, but usually they'll just say it without proving themselves. The reason is probably simple. If they actually pick him up, they wouldn't be able to get that kind of performance out of him. Most likely they won't even try. It's already been over 2 years since Tekken 8 release. At this point, I think pro players would be better off studying matchups more seriously. This patch will make some people happy and others unhappy. In the end, I just hope everyone enjoys the game. That second part, we know that Arslan is somewhat familiar with Bryan. He can somewhat use him, but we know that Arslan gets a lot of his experience from Bryan through Atif. Atif plays a very crazy Bryan, and that's where Arslan gets a lot of his experience from. Well, used to, because now Arslan is in Japan. Nee also says, when I look back at everything since Tekken 8 launch, I do think pro players' opinions carry a certain level of credibility, but that doesn't mean all of our views should automatically be accepted by everyone. I think that is probably one of the hardest things for Bandai Namco to manage. Well, after all, this game is far more casual than pro players. I think that everyone's opinions matter equally because you're talking about different ranks, right? These guys, they make tier lists about tournaments. I make tier lists about like GOD1. You know, blue ranks should make tier lists about, like, there's 30 different ranks for a reason, and you could talk about balance within that. But also, if you're flat out wrong, or if people are trying to correct you, you know, receive that information. Don't just be like, no, I'm right and you're all wrong. That's when you kind of put yourself in a situation. But I think that this game is for everyone. Pro players have shown that they could be unbiased, or they could be biased and like try to get their characters to be the best in the game. Casual players have shown that they also do the same thing, including in dev discords. You can't listen to anyone specifically, listen to everyone. That's why I think keeping that balance in the middle is what makes balanced patches so difficult. In reality, there's probably no such thing as a balanced patch that satisfies everyone. Still, I believe developers have to keep trying to strive for it if they want the game to become even better fighting game, especially because they've been developing this series for 30 years. So what I really want to say is that the topic, like top 5, are fun to talk about, but doesn't mean those opinions should automatically be taken as fact. What he is saying here is absolutely right. When people do top 5 tier lists, they say top 5, but they leave out that this is top 5 in a tournament environment. And that's what I try to highlight, because players who are in like blue ranks use that as like motivation to feel whatever journey they're on. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're talking about tournament. They're talking about a specific part of tournament. We've seen Arslan Ash say that Lars is a weak character and he will not help you win the tournament. Meanwhile, Lars was one of the most deadliest characters in season 2 with an insanely high win rate, and then he got nerfed because of it. So that's what I mean when I say like when a pro says the character is unviable, it's context, and that context is kind of lost at times. And I wish that pro players were more careful with that context, because when they say this character sucks, they have to say like in tournament, in this level of play. That's why I don't really like to talk about those kind of topics anymore. I think once the patch comes out, it's more positive to focus on how to adapt and break through it. If you approach the game negatively, there will just be way too many things in it, and it can become stressful. And also, when he was talking about like finding the middle ground and balancing the game between pros and casuals, I think that there's certain moves that are super broken at pro play. QCB1, spamming it over and over and over again. But then there's moves that are broken at casual play. 3-3-3, right? There is some different moves that for different skill level of players, and the developers can identify that and attack it as necessary, because that's kind of what they always done, right? Another tweet, Tekken 8 is almost perfect. All it needs to change is get rid of guard breaks, installs unbreakable throws, and knock down low wall splatting shouldn't be a thing. I mean, I agree. I think that they probably won't get rid of guard breaks, installs, unbreakable throws, but unbreakable throws should just straight up be breakable. And then guard breaks, if you wanted to guard break, you kind of have to like limit its like ability to destroy. You got to like reduce its ability somehow, make it slower or something. I don't know what they could do there. When you start having these kind of conversations of like removing installs and guard breaks, you're kind of lying to yourself. They're not going to do that, right? They already said that the heat is like integral to the game and it's not going away. So why would they do that for guard breaks and whatnot, right? So the only hope is that they kinda do something, but I don't know. Okay, one more tweet. This is from High Tone, and I think it's an important one. High Tone says, guys, we need a positive review bomb. And when he said this, I did go look at Steam to see what was happening, because you know, each time they did a bad update, it was immediately clapped up. And this time around, it is looking positive. 43 positive reviews, 12 negative reviews. It's not as big as this down spike, right? These down spikes are pretty massive. If you were negatively reviewing a game every update, you should positively review it. You don't have to say that the game is perfectly fine and everything is fixed, but just stay consistent, right? You were given feedback every single time the game got updated, so do the same thing and help the game out and give it a positive review. Show the developers that we really like this update, not just through tweets but also through Steam reviews, because that's how we showed them we hated the game, right? So I think that is a good point.